youth leadership, the youth leadership program. And I could talk about it for the next 45 minutes, but that's Stacci's job. So if you would help me welcome Stacci Thomas.
Oh, and thank you to our Zoom master for unmuting me, and then also to Johnny Fever and Les Nesman. You guys are doing an awesome job, absolutely awesome. This particular session is about youth leadership. It just so happened that earlier this year, we had a Toastmaster who had planned to do a youth leadership. But once he got started and got into it just a little bit, work interfered. He had some work commitments that he could not get out of, and so he had to step away. Well, since our club was sponsoring it, I stepped in to do youth leadership. And guess what? After 10 years of being in Toastmaster, I had no idea how to get started with youth leadership. Didn't really know what it was. I'd never looked at it. I've done several speechcrafts, but I had never done youth leadership. Fortunately, we have lots of folks around our district who are wonderful resources, and they really stepped up and helped me out. So we thought that perhaps there might be other people in the same position that we were in, that we had no idea what youth leadership was all about. We decided to do this session to help everybody else know, sort of make the program wider known within the district, and also give you some resources that can help you put on a youth leadership program. After this session, you should be able to recognize the components of youth leadership. That's YLP, Youth Leadership Program. Understand what's in it for you, and also appreciate the benefits both to the youth and to Toastmasters. See if I can advance my slides. There you go. So what is youth leadership? Youth leadership is actually a lot like speechcraft, only it's geared toward anyone under the age of 18, mostly middle school and high school kids. It's to help them build their leadership skills, their communication skills, their evaluation skills. It's geared a lot like a Toastmasters meeting would be. It also includes some skills in electing officers and doing things like that, carrying on a Toastmasters meeting. All right, so I've mentioned that it's a lot like speechcraft. So what are the differences? The purpose of youth leadership is basically for outreach. It's to reach youth and to work with the youth all around us. So anyone under the age of 18, if you know anything about speechcraft, you know that this year it went online, and it's a lot like Pathways, as opposed to the youth leadership program, which is all still hard copy. So when you go into youth leadership, you go to the Toastmasters website and buy it just like you would any other program. Participants, because they are only 18 or younger, most of them are younger than 18, can't join your club immediately, because of course you know that you can't join Toastmasters unless you're at least 18 years of age. All right, so what are the components of it? 25 participants is the recommended maximum. Now, if you have some folks to help you out, of course, you can handle more members than that or less members than that, but 25 is the recommended for Toastmasters. They learn to evaluate, to speak, to organize, impromptu speaking, just like we do in our clubs, how to control voice, gestures, everything. When you purchase the program, you get enough books for 5 participants. Now, you can buy additional resources on the Toastmasters website, and it's minimal cost. I think it's $2 for each book that you would purchase as far as a workbook. The completion certificates are like 60 cents a piece, so you can buy lots of additional resources beyond just those few. What's in it for you? One of the steps on your path to DTM is that you need to be a club sponsor, put on a speechcraft or a youth leadership program. Here's the deal. We only have a limited number of clubs that start each year, and you have to be a new club sponsor. So if there are a limited number of new clubs, there are a limited number of opportunities for you to be a club sponsor. That's where speechcraft and youth leadership come in. Both of those will qualify to get you to your DTM. All right, so tonight I have several folks with me. Let me stop sharing. And I have got some folks with me who are very experienced in youth leadership. They have been doing this for a number of times. and they're going to help me answer some questions. So if you can spotlight my folks for me, that would be awesome. And I will introduce them for you. So we have a couple of others. Can you spotlight Don Biddick? There you go. And also John Grigsby.
Or turn on the panel to come on video so we can spotlight them. We can't spotlight no video.
Ah, okay. There you go, Sonia. Awesome. Okay. And I don't think Sylvia is with us tonight. She indicated that she might not be here. So this is a team of experts that I have brought with me, and there's Sylvia, that I brought with me and relied on to help with speechcraft. So let me introduce them to you. And I want each of them to take a few minutes and tell us about their experiences with the youth leadership program. So we'll go in alphabetical order, and we'll start with our former international director, former region advisor, former district director for District 63, Mr. Don Biddick. Don.
Thank you so much, Stacci, and welcome Toastmasters of District 63. After that introduction, I'm a little bit embarrassed about what I'm about to say, because one of the slides that Stacci put up said that youth leadership was for people under 18. Now, you would think someone who has served on the board of directors as an international director and region advisor would know that. However, my experience with youth leadership primarily is with 15 different occasions I was able to bring, along with help from my club at HCA. I was able to get together college interns at HCA who were not under 18, but they were close enough. They were 18 to 20, but we decided to do the youth leadership program for them because we knew they didn't want to join our club after participating. They were only at HCA for about 8 to 10 weeks every summer. We saw this as an opportunity, one, to help them develop their skills that they needed for college, whether it be communication skills, leadership skills, interviewing skills. And two, having seen my oldest daughter go through this internship program at HCA and having her come home every night and say, "Dad, it was so boring at work today. I just sat at this desk and I just did this, I read this, I marked up this. It's boring where you work." That's what she said. And I thought, let's get our officers together at a club. How can we spice things up for our summer interns? Because they come from all over. They didn't really go to high school together here in the Nashville area, and they're all going to like different colleges around the country, but they're here in Nashville earning some money for their college. So we decided, hey, let's do youth leadership for them, and we will customize it for their age. We will have them do officer elections on day one, and if an officer role is contested, they would give a speech. We would help them set up agendas, and they ran the meetings throughout the summer. We would participate from time to time, show them how to evaluate, et cetera, et cetera. The program worked so well that, we always talk about building confidence in people, right, in Toastmasters. Well, by the end of the summer, they were so confident that they would challenge the Toastmasters in our club to a table topics throwdown every summer. They wanted to show us that they could beat us in a table topics competition. We had so much fun with those young men and young women at HCA, and we made the youth leadership program work even though they were 18, 19, maybe 20 years old, and it was just a fantastic time. And again, it was through the generosity of HCA and all the members of the club. Thank you, Stacci, for letting me share that.
Thank you, Don. That was awesome. I really appreciate it. Our next participant is Sylvia Colvin. Sylvia has been a member of Toastmasters for 20-something years. She is a member of my home club, and she's one of the ones that's the reason I'm in Toastmasters to begin with. Sylvia, can you tell us a little bit about your experience with youth leadership?
Yes, thank you, Stacci. I was able to join Stacci and John helping a middle school group from Chattanooga who wanted to improve leadership, and they were a select group because they were already in a leadership class. So I worked with Stacci, and our club sponsored them and purchased the books, and each student had the written material to work with, and their teacher was excellent. She was very motivational. She was very encouraging. I thought that helped a lot with their acceptance of it. And we saw tremendous growth over the few weeks that they participated, because at first they were shy of even getting up in front of their peers and talking about things. And as one idea was for an icebreaker, they did a show and tell. They brought an object from some facet of their lives, talked about it, and that really helped them to get warmed up to it. And they did evaluations and speeches in each meeting, dividing up the class. So I did see a lot of benefit to these students, and I think the teacher did as well.
All right, thank you, Sylvia. That is wonderful. I appreciate that. Our next is John Grigsby still on? John, or where are you?
I'm here.
All right, John is also one of our panel members tonight. John, can you tell us about your experience with youth leadership?
Oh, Stacci, I would love to. I had a wonderful experience, and I look for him tonight, and he's not here. Will Davenport. Some of you know Will Davenport. Will Davenport asked me, he drugged me into it. I'm like, hey, you're giving a youth leadership program? I need that for my DTM. Yes, I want to do it with you. We had an opportunity, and Will had an opportunity. This was his end. And this was my question before I knew how to do this, was how do I get in front of students? How am I going to find an audience that we can get in front of? You know, I don't have a problem conducting it, but how do I get there? Will had an end. Will is one of these guys who is great at coming up with games. He's got a game in his pocket. He's got more games. He just shake him, a game will fall out. He had an end with the Emerald Youth Foundation here in Knoxville. The Emerald Youth Foundation in Knoxville, for those who know anything about it, is for underprivileged kids, and they have a summer program. And it's sort of like summer camp, but they do it in a program or in a church, different places that they actually do their summer program. So Will asked them at the beginning of the year, oh yeah, this sounds like a great idea. We had like 5 different groups that wanted to participate. Well, by the time of the schedule shook out, we only had 2. One was a middle school and the other one was a high school. So we did the middle school first, and you talk about pulling eye teeth. Don, college kids are good, but middle school kids, good night. They're in such a turbulent time in their life. And these kids it was even worse for them. They were coming from broken homes. Their mothers were in a program for recovery to be acclimated back into the workforce. And so their children was in this program at the Emerald Youth Foundation. So they were coming from a bad situation home. They didn't know each other. And here come these 2 weird guys talking about Toastmasters. Man, we were like gag. Remember last night, Nicole said gag? We were going against the grain. This was not cool to them for us to come in. They didn't want to be playing our little game, but they did. We started off and we asked them, instead of doing what we call an icebreaker, I said, let's do a show and tell. Okay, they could do that. We asked them to prepare for a show and tell. And what we would do, we'd play a game, we'd give some education, and then we'd finish the game. And man, they absolutely ate it up eventually. The middle schoolers, they come in like this. They come in with their paper and they read the whole thing. The instructors there helped them write their speech, 2 minutes at max, probably closer to 20 seconds. But they did it. And through that little short interaction time that we had, we only did it for, I think it was 3 weeks. We had I forgot how many hours we had, but it added up to the number we needed. But even during that short period of time, you could see those middle school kids coming out of their shell. It was amazing to see them just coming out, because we prodded them. We pushed them. We gave them a goal that was outside of what they was going to do in their world that day. This was way outside their comfort zone, but they accepted the challenge. And then the high school kids, good night. We got bowled over by the high school kids. They all knew each other, right? They've been in program all summer with each other. They were hacking on each other. They pulled us into their hack. And like, good night, are we going to survive this? Are they going to kill us? We don't know what's going to happen here. But they took the challenge and took it to a whole nother level as well. The key was the games and the education that made it work together. We didn't just come in with education. We came in with games and education and won over the hearts of those kids. And man, what a great experience it was. And Will told me that next summer he wants to do it again. So if you're in the Knoxville area and you'd like to participate, let me or Will know and see if we can get in front of more kids than we did from last year. Thank you, Stacci.
Oh, that was awesome, John. Thank you. Appreciate it. Our next panelist is, I think, one of the best PR folks that we've had here in a very long time. She's done a fantastic job with our PR management this year. Please help me welcome Sonia Van Hook. Sonia.
Thank you, Stacci. I appreciate you allowing me to tell about my experience with this program. Several years ago, one of our local high school teachers went on the internet and looked up youth leadership program. She was teaching a leadership class. She wanted to know what resources were available. Well, Toastmasters popped up with the Toastmasters Youth Leadership Program. Again, she goes to the internet. She says, I wonder if there's a local club. And she found our Wolf Hills Club that is located right here in this area. And then she called the number or contacted me, and we were able to connect years ago. And I have been presenting the Youth Leadership Program in her class ever since. Now, the first time she asked me, I was like, I had only been in Toastmasters for maybe a year. It might have been 6 months. And she asked me, would you do a youth leadership Toastmasters program? I'm like, sure, I'll do that. And then it was my turn to get on the internet and Google it and say, what is the Toastmasters Youth Leadership Program? I've got to do one and I don't know what it is. Fortunately, shortly after that, I went to a district conference and they had the workbooks there, and I purchased those, and I didn't have to pay for shipping and wait for them to come to me. So I started studying my manual and I learned about this wonderful program. During COVID, we did hybrid meetings. They still had to do their speeches and they were doing it on Zoom. And then we had some people that were there in the classroom. Now we have resumed everybody back in the classroom, and we are going strong with this program. And I'm very honored to be able to tell you about some of my experiences. Stacci.
Thank you, Sonia. That was wonderful. Appreciate it. And finally, but certainly not last on our list, I would like to introduce you to Cynthia. Cynthia is a member of a club here in Chattanooga. I've worked with her at TVA for many years. I have known about her doing youth leadership for many years. She does a fantastic job. So please help me welcome Cynthia Hill-Watson.
Thank you, Stacci. Thanks for the opportunity to speak with you guys about the Youth Leadership Program. So I'm a member of New United Missionary Baptist Church. And several years ago, there was an email that I sent out to invite a church member to one of our open houses. I'm a member of Toastmasters. And that member somehow routed that email to my pastor. And my pastor was once a member of the Education Commission Board here in Chattanooga, Hamilton County. And he's very big on educating our youth and making sure that they can speak well. And he reached out to me, asked me if I would consider bringing in Toastmasters to work with our students. And so the first year that we did the program was in 2013, and it was just such an awesome experience for the students that participated. So our students range from students within the Hampton County area, as well as North Georgia, and also some homeschool students. So it really turned out very well in that the program, what really helped me was I reached out to one of our members who knew of the lady name slips my mind right now, but she gave me a start as far as walking through the process of the Youth Leadership Program. Then also there was a program over in Charlotte, North Carolina. So I reached out to that church to get information on their program as well. And so our program is a combination of some local things as well as some things that were being done in other areas. So our program consisted of following the Youth Leadership Program manuals and guidelines, but we also incorporated the slight edge principles to engage our students on working on facilitating discussions. So they would do either a video or just kind of do a short talk on some of those slight edge principles, such as little things matters, attitude is everything, things like that. So they would talk about those things and also share with the other participant and engage conversations. So we found that to be very beneficial. We also partner our program with our church does what's called it's a college tour that they do every year. And so students who are interested in participating in the college tour, we actually sponsor them to go on that tour as well as part of the program. And our students also had an opportunity, several of them, to participate in the Blacks in Government program, the TVA chapter, in their oratorical contest also. So they would come through, and as they spoke, and the ones who we thought did well, we would recommend them to participate in the Blacks in Government program. We had several that went through and did well there also. So again, the program is built up with so many different aspects, and we try to make it very interesting. We do allow our students to be creative. We've had students who were like, one guy was a break dancer. So he demonstrated break dancing to the audience when he did his speech for the banquet. And he did a great job doing that. We had some students who talked about their personal experiences, so we allowed them to just be themselves. And we found to be them to be engaging by allowing them to be creative with the things that they want to share with the group. So I found to be very rewarding in that when my students come back and say, hey, Miss Cynthia, I spoke at this event and I want to thank you because the youth leadership program helped me to speak at a certain event. I have students now who have gone through the program that have graduated from college. I have one young lady who's a model in New York right now, and she speaks very well. I have a young man who's actually getting ready to start law school. So we've had some very, students who've done very well, and they attribute some of that to the program. And again, it's been very rewarding.
That is fantastic. Thank you, Cynthia. That is fantastic. All right. Now, we want to open it up for our audience to ask any questions they'd like to ask. We thought this might be a great time since we have some experts here among us. I also have some questions, but I'd love to hear some questions from our audience. I know we have one in chat that says, what's the minimum size club you need to be effective? In other words, what's the minimum size, I think, of a youth leadership program for it to be effective?
No, that's the opposite. No, I'm asking, and hello, I am asking, how large does your Toastmasters club need to be in order to take on a youth leadership?
Okay. Who wants to answer that one?
I'll take that one on. So with the program at New United Missionary Baptist Church, so what we do is I reach out to fellow Toastmasters. They may or may not be in my club. So they're members who are members of other clubs, like Carolyn Miller, for instance. She's a member of Blue Masters. She also partners with me, and we work together to facilitate and get this program, going each year. I've had members from Hickson Toastmasters. So it just sort of varies as far as my volunteers. I try not to wear them out each year, but there are some who do a very good job on certain topics, and I do reach out to them to come back each year to do those topics. But I do leverage my fellow Toastmasters from my club, which is Channel Masters, and other clubs.
Okay, that's
one more question. Thank you, Cynthia. If you cooperate with an individual, will both of you be eligible for the DTM or just you?
Just one person, the one who serves as coordinator, is eligible for the to get the the credit for it for the towards DTM. Just one person.
Stacci, may I add to that, Stacci?
Absolutely, please do, Don.
Thank you so much. And Cynthia was absolutely correct. However, what we did was anybody who helped with the program, for example, gave a speech on evaluation, gave a speech on table topics, demonstrated an icebreaker speech, we made sure and we encouraged them to get credit in their, well, at the time it was in the CC manual, but we had a lot of people get credit for a lot of speeches in their manuals as well.
And we did also as well.
John, you had something?
I do. The question initially was about the size of the club, or getting help from within your club. Will, who helped me, was in a different club. We were in 2 different clubs. So events like this, where you can network with people and get to do stuff with people, it's not the size of the club that's important, because no one else in my club participated. It was just me. It was my project, and Will helped me. So my point to that is if you're interested in doing it, if you need it for your DTM, if you're going to get involved in it, seek out some people who've already did this. Get them to help you. Get them to work with you. I got my manuals from, just lost his name. I had him right here. Another guy. I can't think of his name. Old timer just kicked in right there. Anyway,
was it Curtis
no,
Johnston?
It wasn't it. No, it wasn't Curtis. Dean Phillips. There we go. Dean Phillips. I met Dean, and he gave me my manuals to use. He gave me just a ton of manuals to use. I didn't have to buy any of them. Dean was very generous. So if you put it out there and ask others to help, you'll find people come along to help you.
All right, that's fantastic. We had another one that came up in chat. It says, sounds like most people you guys, your speech tonight, had the opportunity brought to them. If you're interested in providing a youth leadership, what's the best way to find the youth? Who wants to take that one?
What is a youth?
I can respond to that. So
All right,
at New United, my pastor, we did letters. We did letters and gave them to the pastor. He handed those out to the schools. And we also did flyers that some of our members took to work and hung them at different places, and the ball field, just reaching out our church website. So we did advertise that way. So our students came from, like I said, the schools, the community, homeschool students.
So you can advertise it just like you would a speechcraft or an open house for your club or anything else, right?
Yes.
All right, that's fantastic.
Sure.
Anybody else want to comment on that one?
Yeah, I will, Stacci. There's a lot of youth organizations out there, Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, 4-H, et cetera, that you can reach out to as well.
And as a matter of fact, Cynthia, I think it's either someone with you or associated with your speechcraft, your youth leadership, even went on to help with some of the beauty pageants here in Chattanooga and to coach some of those beauty pageant contestants. So there's lots of opportunities to get to the youth. All right.
Yes,
with
Jack and Jill also, yes.
I'm sorry.
We also helped the Jack and Jill with their oratorical contest also. Yes, they reached out to
there
us.
you go.
Yeah.
4-H,
Yes.
yeah, 4-H is another good one. There's lots of organizations around that do speech contests for students. Here's another question. With 25 max students, how long is a youth leadership meeting? How many speeches are given at each meeting? And how many Toastmasters would you need to help with that many students? Anybody want to take that one?
I want to take that one, if I may.
Absolutely, Sonia.
With the leadership class that I have, we have usually each semester between 18 and 24 students. That's a lot of students to be giving a speech. We usually schedule 3 to 4 to give a speech every time, knowing that in a high school situation, there's a good chance that one of those speakers will miss that time, and then they'll have to make it up the next time. So we have your schedule full so that if you have one student out, you still get to have your 3 speeches, your evaluation, and then go into table topics. In the manual, it suggests that you do the table topics first and then do the speeches, but I switched that around simply because the students are nervous. They want to get it over with. And then if we have extra time, we can use the table topics. Because when the bell rings, time's up, the students are gone. You have to be finished on their schedule. And the students are about to pass out anyway. So I want to give them that opportunity to get their speech over with, and then they can breathe again. It is so severe with some of these students, this shyness. I actually had a student this semester emailed me and said, every time I see you, I get sick at my stomach. Now, can you imagine what that does to my self-esteem? I know what he's talking about. But anyway, that is what we do. And we have to do that in the 50-minute class period that we have. So, Buddy, once we bang the gavel, session is open, it goes one right after another very quickly. Thank you, Stacci.
Your classes lasted, how long is your class?
50 minutes.
50 minutes. Okay, we had a similar,
Jam-packed.
we had a similar situation, 50 minutes. We had 19 students. We tried to fit everybody in. And our teacher actually, the next day, she took her class time to do table topics, and that became one of their favorite things. So I like that. Danny, you've had your hand up for a while. Would you like to ask a question?
No, but I'd like to comment.
All right.
I had the wonderful opportunity this winter, spring, and with your help, Stacci, and I got to lead a speechcraft group from Middle Tennessee State University. And that was I have done a lot of fun things in Toastmasters, but I think this just tops it all. I had a group of 5 students at Middle Tennessee, and we met for several meetings. And those people were wonderful. They were mostly 18, 19-year-old people. So finally, the final night, we got their professor who had sent these students to us, and she attended the meeting, and she said, I want to know something. I want to know what you're doing to these people, because she says, they're professional speakers now. And they just did an outstanding job with their speeches. The first night, I didn't know what to expect. The first night we did table topics, and they struggled to do a 2-minute speech. And before it was over with, they were given 10-minute speeches, and I'm talking about not missing a word. So it was very rewarding. And so the professor said she wanted to make this each semester. She wanted to send 5 more students. And so I'm a member of 2 clubs here in Murfreesboro. So we're going to switch back and forth between clubs and give our members in our clubs an opportunity to lead a speechcraft. And I think we've got a source here that's going to really help out with that. And that's all I've got to say. Thank you.
That is fantastic. Thank you, Danny. That's wonderful. Good job. All right, another question for the panel here. Is there a good way to get in contact with other Toastmasters outside your club to get people to help you put together a youth leadership program? Anybody have any suggestions?
That is hard. I'll go ahead and comment that it is hard, especially if you don't know people outside your club. It's great. You know, this Zoom environment is great, but it doesn't allow us to network, because as soon as we finished, we could go over to the corner and we could have an opportunity to meet with people and say, hey, I'm interested, and collect those things. Maybe we can put it in a chat if you would be interested, and put those people together somehow. You know, maybe that's something we can do here. I want to go back one other thing about the time commitment too. The youth leadership program, you get a book, and Toastmasters wants you to do it a certain way. But I'm here to tell you right now, it is not cookie cutter. How many students you have, how much time you have, how much time you spend with each one of them. It is a very dynamic situation that you've got to work with. Some Toastmasters may say, hey, I don't like that. We're very structured. Okay, we are. But this one, you've got to be you can be a lot. You have to be a lot flexible, because the time that you have with the number of kids that you have to work with, you got to make that work. So I just want to throw that out there as well. Don't think that you just get the book, turn to page 1 and take off. Now you got to do a little planning to make it work out correctly.
Absolutely.
Stacci, if I could add one thing to seeking out people to help, and Sonia, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe our district is always looking for opportunities to help clubs. For example, you can post something on our district website, or ask to have something posted. You could ask to have an article included in an email out to the district. So there are forms to get the word out there that are a little structured, but they're there.
That's great. That is perfect. Also, I know tonight, John, we're going to open up some rooms that people can go into and mix and mingle and talk to each other. We'll do that tomorrow as well. That might be a good place to link up with some other folks who might be interested in helping with youth leadership. Next question, is there a cost to the students? Anybody want to answer that one?
I'll take on that one. Yes, so at New United, we do not charge our student participants for the program. So my club Shadow Master sponsored providing the materials, the manuals and things like that for the students and for the coordinators. Also the certificates, and we also provide, but at the banquet we give them like a trophy or a medal for their achievements. My church provided all of the meals and the facilities. So the meals, we met weekly on Sunday afternoons, and my church covered all the costs of that, as well as any copies that we needed, things like that. So those were covered by the church.
So it depends. If your club is sponsoring it, your club may buy the materials. If a particular youth group is sponsoring it, they may want to buy the materials. It just depends on basically whatever you can work out for whichever program, right? Don King suggested that you might ask an area or a division director that they may be able to hook you up with some folks who would be interested in youth leadership. Luann, did you have a comment?
I put one in the chat that Steve and I, about 15 years ago, we did through the Optimist Club. They bought the manuals and things for us, but it was after school at the recreation center. And what we were trying to do is the Optimist Club had oratorical contests. So we were trying to help them use this method to get them to learn how to prepare a speech. And being a teacher myself, I knew you had to improvise. So we just did what we could to get the main message of table topics, preparing a speech. We would sometimes help until we get it. But when sports season comes, it is just helter-skelter all over. They'll miss, they'll be there. They've got baseball, everything interferes. So sometimes I think we did it. We figured out we had to do it. If we didn't get it accomplished in the time we wanted, we just kept going till everybody got to do their thing in front of us. And I don't think that we may have had different people each of the 3 years, but only maybe one or two would actually accomplish a speech that they could present. But we had indoctrinated them on something. So they all knew something more than they did. So we didn't try to fit that format all of the time, just a piece of it, and let them be in front. The most successful one was when we filled in with somebody else who just went to the girls club here in Oak Ridge, and I joined him, and he walked off and left it, and the lady came in and said, but I thought he was going to do it. I think he sent it in and got credit. I was the assistant, so I didn't think I was supposed to get credit. So I got my DTM without sending it in, but they really did improve. It was about 5 girls, all there because their parents needed them to be cared for after school. And one in a wheelchair just could not wait to get to the session. So you'll find a different atmosphere for each one. And so I want to back up. I think it was Don Biddick who said, wasn't it? Or whoever said, keep in mind, reach your goal for what you think they're doing and let everybody complete what they will. But when they say, I'm finished, you just let that be.
All right. Thank you, Luann. That was wonderful. I appreciate that. Don King also mentioned that speechcraft is what led to the formation of the Morning Cup. And that was one of the questions that I had on my list. If speechcraft can lead to new members, why would I do youth leadership? Anybody want to take that one?
I do. Oh, go ahead, Don.
Oh, go ahead, John. I'll follow up.
Okay. Do it because it is absolutely rewarding. You come to Toastmasters and you improve yourself. It's really all about your self-improvement. But this is one of those opportunities to give back to others, and it is absolutely a rewarding experience. And if you missed it in Toastmasters, you're missing your money's worth in Toastmasters. I'm telling you, do it.
Don?
John, I couldn't agree more. Thank you, Stacci. And I will share another story, a success story we've had in our district, and it's really brief, I promise. I was attending the Diagnostics Club one night, and in walked this nice young man, and we wanted to come to a Toastmasters meeting. We asked him, how did you hear about Toastmasters? And he said, Well, when I was 12 years old, I went through a youth leadership program from Toastmasters. All these years went by, and now I thought, you know what? I need to get back into that, and I need to enhance my skills again. He remembered Toastmasters from doing a youth leadership when he was younger. So other than the enjoyable part of it, for us, we're planting seeds.
Exactly. I agree.
Absolutely. That is fantastic. And I don't know about you guys, but I have talked to a lot of people about joining Toastmasters. And if they went to college and took a speech course, most of the time they'll say, I'm not even going to talk to you about it. Nope, no way. Because they hated that speech course so much. And if we could get to them earlier and make it a more positive experience, I think that would benefit Toastmasters in an incredible amount. One of the questions that came up is speechcraft only online now? And can I have in-person meetings? Okay, speechcraft is online. Yeah, yes, it is online now. That doesn't mean you necessarily have to have your speechcraft session online. You can do it in person if you choose to, but then they go back and basically do their homework online. They go back and enter into the system just like we would use Pathways. That's the way the students would use this speechcraft. Now, youth leadership is all hard copy. So how do you get credit for youth leadership once you've done it? Who wants to tell me that? John, I know you just got your DTM this year. One of the things you had to do was your youth leadership. How'd you get credit for youth leadership?
I did. That's a good question, Stacci. I know I put it on my form, and I don't know who approved it. Somebody had to approve it. I don't recall. That's a good question.
Okay, but you put it on a form, right? You'd had to
Yes.
turn in a form?
I put on the form the dates and I think the dates and maybe the number of, look here. Oh, hold on a second. Look here. It's right here, I believe. No, it's not. I don't recall, Stacci. You put me on the spot there.
I think when you turn in your DTM paperwork, that you put down that you have completed a youth leadership, you put down the dates and the location or something like that, and that's how you receive credit for it.
That's right. You put down the workshop name and the dates. There it is. What? It is in the journal.
Awesome.
in
That
the
is in
manual.
our journal for tonight,
Yeah.
for the conference. That is fantastic. John, you covered
Yes.
everything. You are incredible. Good job. Okay. And we've decided that, yes, you can modify the material, right? If you need to. John, as a matter of fact, is the one who shared the idea to change Icebreaker into show and tell, because show and tell is something students would be familiar with, especially those kids that were in the 9th grade. And believe me, show and tell worked so well because you still learned a lot about your student when they brought whatever item they wanted to bring into show and tell. So it worked just like an icebreaker. It was magic.
It took the focus off of them onto their object, which took some of the don't look at me, but look at my object, right?
Absolutely. That was fantastic. Yes, Luann?
Steve, years later, he got his DTM, I think in 2020, the first year of the COVID. And we understood he had to go get the signature of the people of the Optimist Club that saw him do it to document that he actually had accomplished it. And then he filled out his forms, whatever forms were needed to accomplish that. And then he got his DTM. So, okay. So it's been a 15-year process for him. and I didn't report mine. I already had an area director or other things that I could count for that.
So, and that is a lot like the coaching for a club. You get the club to sign off on it. So that's great. All right. Very quickly, I want to tell you about an upcoming opportunity for youth leadership if you're interested in getting involved. Ahmad Gillum, our club growth director for this year, has been contacted by the Sigma Beta Club in the Nashville area. They have middle and high school students. They would like to start a youth leadership program sometime in May. We're not sure when right now. Will run for 8 weeks, so it'll run through May and June, possibly Saturday mornings, because they would like to not interfere with their other activities in the afternoons. Approximately 20 attendees. However, they are opening it up to some of the other Beta Club members that are around the area. It will be online because right now they have not been given permission to meet in person. The beta clubs have not. So it will be an online opportunity. If you're interested, Ahmad is looking at a couple of the clubs in the Nashville area to be sponsors of it. He's also looking for some folks who would like to take that youth leadership on, if nothing else, at least to come and perhaps give a speech, give an educational speech to those students or help coordinate some of the speeches that they may give. So that is an opportunity that's coming up. If you're interested, get in touch with Ahmad. Also, for resources about the youth leadership program, go to toastmasters.org, which is our main Toastmasters website, toastmasters.org/education. You will find information on pathways, on the speechcraft, and also on youth leadership right there. Now, are there, from our participants, are any more comments before we sign off? All right, you guys have done an absolutely fantastic job. Thank you so much for doing this for us. Thank you for all of the questions from our audience. If you have additional questions and you want to get in touch with someone to ask, feel free to email me. I won't know all the answers, but I certainly know where I can find the answers. So thank you all, and I'll now turn it back over to John and Curtis. Thank you.